guys, it is Colton from Colton Does Cars here, and today we're going to be talking about the way that the universe has tried to destroy my WRX. I got this car back in February of 2019, and since then, it has been on quite the journey. Let me go ahead and try to explain to you all the things this car has endured. When I got this car, it had a few random issues that the previous owner had kind of inflicted upon it, like some stupid, weird attempts at fixing stuff in the interior that were absolutely terrible. Some really poor paintwork on the outside, which is still there mostly. I still need to fix that. And a few other miscellaneous things like the absolute crappiest straight pipe job I have ever seen. But to his credit, it actually sounded pretty good. It also had Raceland coilovers on it, which were far past their prime by a long shot. And so we'll talk about everything that's happened to this car as well as everything that I've done to it since then in hopefully chronological order. That's the word that it's called. If you can't tell, English is not my primary best language, which is sad because it's the only language I speak, unless you include Pig Latin. So like I said, I got this car back in February of 2019. There was a few random issues with the car when I got it. The front bumper never really fitted up very well. The clips on the top of the bumper are pretty messed up, so it probably is never going to fit unless I just replace it. There's some dude doing a burnout or a donut or something in a UTV over there. There also was a big ding in this fender right here. That was, I was gonna say fixed, but well, I don't know if you can call what the body shop did fixing it. As well as some random other things of paint work, like they attempted to paint this with, I don't know if you can tell, there's literally brush strokes, like they fixed it with touch-up paint. Fixed it. This one's even more obvious. I don't know what this maniac was trying to do here, but it looks like crap. Coated in bird poop for maximum effect because I park under a tree because I don't have a choice, and the amount of tree sap and bird poop this thing gets on it is absolutely insane, and it's probably going to continue being that way until I move. So it's probably going to be at least another year worth of this. I'm sorry, WRX. I will try to manage it as best as I can. First thing that happened is I went to Import Alliance in St. Louis in, I believe it was the end of June 2019. That is also where I got these pretty slick Grip Royal shades. They had a deal, so I got some for me, my dad, and my brother-in-law. Well, that day was when the most interesting thing happened, which was very unfortunate for both this car as well as my wife's car at the time, which was, I believe, a 2016 Hyundai Accent. Because we were coming back through the area that my wife lived in before we were married, we asked her if she wanted to meet us for dinner. And so we went to this little brewery in this downtown area. And as my wife was coming to meet us, she got in a car accident where she was T-boned. Literally a block from where we were eating. So my mother and I ran to go meet her this block from where we were eating. Luckily my wife was okay. She was very sore after that, but both cars were totaled. The lady that hit her though was absolutely dreadful and had a horrific personality, and we were told by the police that they had to deal with her several times and she was never easy to deal with. So that was really comforting. But of course, I feel terrible for my wife, or girlfriend at the time. And by the time we got home, we drove through a massive thunderstorm that it just so happened also hit the area that I lived in. But by the time we got home, it was dark. So what we didn't notice was the carnage that was at our house. Well, I woke up that morning, and then my dad told me to go outside and look at my car, which is not normally very comforting unless it turns out they put something on it, which is cool, but thus far, that hasn't happened. Well, what had actually happened is my neighbor at the time's shed, he had one of those like plastic sheds that you put together, had blown apart in the storm and had hit every single panel along the side and top of the car. So obviously there was still that ding in the front fender. There was a big scrape on the door. There was a huge dent in this door. There was a ding in the top here, which is actually still there. I don't know if it's very visible. The body shop didn't fix that because he quote unquote didn't notice, which I don't understand because there was also a scrape here that I got rid of. So that's interesting. There was a ding in the roof, which is still there because it basically couldn't be repaired. and there was a ding in the hood, which is also still there that you might not be able to see. It's right there. But the body shop said he was gonna fix it and then didn't. Luckily, insurance covered the car and it was fixed, and literally the same day I got the check after all the damage that there was, I was driving at night, a truck in front of me suddenly hit their brakes. I didn't know what was going on, so I cautiously hit my brakes to slow down as well. Well, what had gone on is he had managed to straddle 2 young raccoons that I could not manage to straddle. So I unfortunately hit these raccoons and put a big crack in my front bumper as well. So I'm not gonna say I got it worse than the raccoons. They did, unfortunately. I always hate hitting animals, but it happens sometimes, and so that happened as well. Luckily, I was able to find a body shop that fixed all of that and fixed the front bumper and painted it all up for me. Also painted the rear wing, painted the front hood scoop really badly, and so everything was kind of fixed. And then literally, I believe it was only a couple weeks later, I was hiking with my wife, girlfriend at the time, and her friends. And I was parked downtown in a nearby town to where we were going the whole day because I rode with my wife and her friends. Well, I got back to my car. Once again, it was dark, so I didn't see this. However, where I was parked, I had a black SUV on this side and a black SUV on this side. Well, the one on the left made sure that I would never forget them. Literally right after the paintwork was finished. Right afterward. So yeah, that was cool. I still haven't gotten that fixed. To be honest, I haven't had super awesome experiences with any of the body shops that I've went to, so I'm probably going to try and fix it myself. It's a skill I wanted to learn anyway. Next thing that happened was under the hood, which we will pop. I got a check engine light. I don't remember what the code was, but after researching it, I figured it probably was the oil control valves, which I believe, I can't remember for sure where they are. I think they're right down in this area somewhere. And I ended up removing them, basically cleaning them really well. I don't remember if it was with brake clean or carb cleaner or what exactly they recommended using, but apparently whatever I did managed to fix it, so that was no longer an issue. However, shortly thereafter, I was driving my car and it developed a misfire because it decided that it wanted to make this badge have its worth. So, in order to try to fix this misfire, first thing I did, like I figure pretty much anyone would do, is I replaced all of the spark plugs with NGK laser iridiums. Of course, not the most fun job to do on a Subaru. However, I think everyone's a little dramatic, at least on the GR chassis. It's not that bad. It's time consuming, but it's not that big of a deal. Well, that didn't fix the problem. So next thing I tried was a coil pack, and that ended up fixing the problem. It was on cylinder 1. It's a really common thing. Luckily, it wasn't another one of the common issues that it could have been, like ringland failure or something like that. This engine, knock on wood, is actually doing really great. It's run fantastic since I got it. It has 167,000 miles on it, and it's showing no signs of giving up anytime soon. So hopefully that'll stay that way. However, I have had a different issue, which is boost creep. Why do I have boost creep? Well, I have a full turbo back exhaust. I've got a MagnaFlow catback back here with a high flow cat Cobb 3-inch downpipe. So basically that frees up a whole bunch of flow. The stock downpipes on these cars are ridiculously restrictive, but by doing that, the computer doesn't quite understand that there's way more flow than there used to be. So in higher gears under higher load, that means there can be boost creep. Basically, I need to get the car tuned, which I plan to do at some point in the future. I am probably going to do a few other modifications to it before doing that. We'll see about that in the future. Right now, I don't really beat on the car, and just putting a Cobb off the shelf stage 2 map on the car would probably fix the problem, so I'll most likely do that sometime in the future. So, next thing that happened in this car's life, I fixed it up some after that. I put in, keep in mind this car's really dirty, I put in a Torque Solution short throw shifter with an Energy Innovations weighted shift knob. I fixed the whole door panel situation. I just ordered a new door panel, new window switch thing. that fixed that. The interior of the car is pretty nice. I ended up putting a new Android head unit in it. I put in some new speakers. I'm not super impressed with them. I might replace them in the future with something else. And then I also put on a different suspension setup, which I had seen on the forums. It is 2013 WRX struts with 2013 STI springs. So the car is overall lowered like half an inch or so. It's definitely not very noticeable. I do have another set of wheels that the car will have going on it. That is why the car can't be super low unless I stiffen up the suspension, because there's not a ton of clearance here. My offset's really aggressive, and these fenders, I have rolled them and they're also pulled a little bit, you can see. But the wheel actually rubs basically in here on the inner fender if you go over a big bump. It's not dangerous to the tire or anything, but it does mean that I should probably look at getting a different suspension setup in the future with a stiffer spring rate, because even the STI springs are not particularly stiff. This catback sounds pretty great. I really like it. The straight pipe probably sounded even better. It was definitely classic Subi rumble. However, this is a daily driver, and this is also my car that I take, everywhere. The car that I drive late at night, early in the morning, so I didn't want it to be super loud and annoying to my neighbors and other people around me. But that was basically it as far as simple mods that I did to this thing. And then the next things happened. I believe it was late summer of 2020. I was driving along, and this car is on snow tires. Well, on the other side. We'll get into that. This side has two different brands of regular all-season tire on it. The reason why, my wife and I were driving to my parents' house, and out of nowhere, I started feeling like a vibration and going bum, 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 bum. And so, that's a classic sign of a flat tire. I pulled over, threw the spare stupid donut tire on it, went to my parents' house. I ended up getting just a used tire or something, I believe, and throwing it on the, I think at the time it was actually the front right corner of the car. Literally, I had checked the tire pressures 2 days before, and they were all at 30 to 32 PSI. No issues whatsoever. There was no puncture signs anywhere in the tire. The valve stem was intact, and somehow it lost a whole bunch of air in a really quick amount of time out of nowhere. And also, there was no cracks in the wheel or anything like that either. I have no idea what happened, but somehow the tire lost a bunch of air, went flat, and then was ruined because, of course, a tire that goes flat and then is driven essentially on the sidewall, it basically ruins the tire. Well, months later, getting into basically early winter, I was driving along. I noticed my car was not really accelerating the way that I expected from like 55 to 60. Well, later on, I noticed kind of like a sound as I was slowing down and speeding up, and I thought, oh shoot, that's probably a tire again. So I pulled into a gas station, and yes, sure enough, now this tire was flat. This time, literally the day before, I checked my tire pressures, and they were all at 30 to 32 PSI. So they all should have been fine. This tire somehow went flat. Again, no obvious puncture signs at all. No crack in the rim. This rim does have a little bit of a bend in it, but it's never been an issue before. It has weights on it to balance that out. The valve stem was once again intact, but there was an odd slice in the sidewall. Now, I don't have any enemies or something that would have slashed my tire, so I don't think that's what it is. I literally think there's a manufacturing defect with these tires that are on the car. I kind of don't want to tell you what tires they are because I don't want to put a target on my back or something, but I don't know if the set I got was just not great or something, but I contacted them and they never contacted me back or tried to do anything for me. So that's super awesome of them. Probably not gonna buy those tires again. Of course, it has another just all season. When it comes to going into this winter, I'll probably replace all of them with more winter tires, and then I have a set of summer wheels and tires that are basically just waiting to go on the car. But then getting into winter, more things occurred. Number one big thing is I was driving in a drive-through. There was a huge snow drift in the middle of the drive-through. This car drives literally flawlessly in the snow, especially with the snow tires. However, it doesn't have x-ray vision to see curves that are hidden through snow drifts. So went over a curb and ended up scraping the side skirt right here. This is fine, I can sand this down and repaint it, but it is another thing. Yeah, there's a little tiny bit of surface rust starting here. That's another thing I need to take care of. There's a couple spots like this from rock chips throughout the car. And another thing that happened was in my driveway, there was a ginormous chunk of ice that I could not see. And so I hit that and also put a bunch of chips in the paint of the front bumper. So unfortunately, that's something that I caused that happened to the car. So those are two other things that have happened since then. Last, and I was gonna say not least, but to be honest, it's probably pretty much least. I used to live in an apartment complex, and the kids were not particularly well trained in said apartment complex. I like kids, but we had a few random issues with them. I don't know if that's what this is from, but this literally looks like a key mark or something. Luckily, I don't think it's through the clear. It kind of looks like it is, but I believe that's kind of just contaminants that are in this scratch. I'll luckily, hopefully be able to fix that, but there's another mark right here, which I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see it a little bit. So there is that. And I suppose there is a couple more things that are not that notable. This hood scoop was repainted by the body shop. He didn't do a very good job. I think he just spray painted it with matte black spray paint. And so there's all kinds of chips and stuff. So that's not very fantastic. He also told me he was gonna replace this front fender, which he didn't because there was a split right here in the front fender, which is obviously still there and is starting to rust. So this is pretty unacceptable. Never should a body shop do something to your car and then immediately there be rust there. There's also rust right here. There's no scrape here or anything. They're just literally, the paint there was so thin that it flaked off. So the universe has not been very nice to my WRX, but luckily I'm going to try to be. These are all things that I plan to address and fix in the future, as well as there's a few other things that I want to do to the car and fix up. Obviously the set of wheels and tires is gonna go on it. I want to get the car tuned. I want to fix up the paint and do a few other things cosmetically. I'm probably gonna get an aftermarket front bumper because finding the 08 Sport Package bumper slash the 09 and 2010 bumper, because it just stayed the same way after that, is like basically impossible. You can only find like the regular Impreza front bumper, which is pretty annoying. So stay tuned. I got a lot of stuff planned for the car. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. I have other projects I'd like to tackle as well. But anyway, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like. And if you really enjoyed this video and the last few videos you've seen for this channel or whatever, please make sure to subscribe if you would like to, and maybe even hit the notification bell so you can be notified about all future uploads on this channel. Again, only if you would like to. And if you really want to support the channel, consider supporting me on Patreon. It's a great way to support the channel. All the donations received through Patreon go straight back into funding the channel, whether that be parts or equipment or whatever. And if you can't donate anything, that's absolutely fine. You're awesome just for watching the videos. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys all later.